The Middle East is a region of constant turmoil. It's a landscape defined by power struggles and, ancient rivalries. In this complex theater, one country has really mastered the art of shaping events from the shadows. That country is Iran. It extends its influence across borders, not always with its own soldiers, but through a hidden network of allies and proxies. This is a different kind of warfare. It's fought in the alleyways of Beirut, the deserts of Yemen, and the shattered cities of Syria. Iran's hand is often unseen, yet its impact is felt from the Persian Gulf all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. This is the story of how Tehran wages its shadow wars. This strategy of using other groups to fight on its behalf has allowed Iran to become a dominant force in the region. It supports militant organizations, political factions, and armed militias, turning them into extensions of its own power. These groups fight its battles, advance its interests, and challenge its rivals. By doing so, Iran avoids direct, open conflict with its powerful adversaries, such as the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. It's a calculated and patient game of influence, one that has been decades in the making. The results have reshaped alliances and redrawn the balance of power across the entire Middle East. Understanding this shadow war is critical to understanding the modern Middle East. The conflicts that rage in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq are not isolated events. They're interconnected pieces of a much larger puzzle. In many of these conflicts, Iran is a key player, fueling the flames through its proxies. It provides them with money, weapons, training, and strategic guidance. These groups in turn become loyal actors who can destabilize Iran's enemies and project its power far beyond its own borders. The strategy is both effective and dangerous, creating a web of influence that is difficult to untangle. So how does this shadow war actually work? How has Iran built such a formidable network of proxies? And perhaps most importantly, why does it matter to the rest of the world? The answers lie in a combination of history, ideology, and a relentless pursuit of regional dominance. From its revolutionary roots in 1979 to its modern-day ambitions, Iran has consistently used proxies as a cornerstone of its foreign policy. This is not just a military tactic, it's a grand strategy for survival and expansion, one that has profound consequences for global peace and security. A proxy war is a simple concept with devastating consequences. It occurs when two major powers want to fight each other but avoid the risks of a direct, full-scale war. Instead, they use smaller, third-party groups or nations to do the fighting for them. They supply these proxies with weapons, funding, and intelligence, effectively turning a local conflict into a battleground for their own geopolitical competition. This strategy isn't new. The Cold War, for instance, was filled with proxy wars from Vietnam to Afghanistan, where the United States and the Soviet Union battled for influence without ever firing a shot directly at one another. Iran did not invent this strategy, but it has arguably perfected it for the 21st century. For Tehran, using proxies is not just an option, it's a necessity. Surrounded by powerful rivals and facing crippling international sanctions, Iran has found a cost-effective way to project power and defend its interests. Supporting a militia in Lebanon or a rebel group in Yemen is far cheaper and less risky than deploying its own national army. It allows Iran to maintain a degree of plausible deniability, making it harder for its enemies to justify a direct military response against the Iranian homeland. It's a strategy of asymmetrical warfare, where a weaker state can challenge much stronger ones. The effectiveness of this approach is undeniable. Look at Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's more than just a militia, it's a political force, a social provider, and a formidable army that acts as Iran's most successful proxy. In Yemen, the Houthi rebels have tied down a Saudi-led coalition for years, using Iranian-supplied missiles and drones to strike deep into Saudi territory. In Iraq, a collection of Shia militias backed by Iran were instrumental in defeating ISIS, but now wield significant political power, ensuring Baghdad remains friendly to Tehran. Even in Gaza, Sunni groups like Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad receive crucial support from Iran to challenge Israel. Each of these groups serves a specific purpose in Iran's grand design. Together, they form what is often called the Axis of Resistance, a coalition of states and non-state actors united in their opposition to the United States and Israel. This network gives Iran strategic depth, allowing it to threaten its adversaries on multiple fronts simultaneously. It's a flexible and resilient system that can absorb pressure and adapt to changing circumstances. By mastering the art of proxy warfare, Iran has ensured that it will remain a central and often disruptive player in the Middle East for the foreseeable future, shaping the region one shadow at a time. A proxy war is a conflict fought by third parties on behalf of more powerful states, a war by remote control. These proxies become pawns in a larger geopolitical chess match, fueled by money, weapons, and strategy from their sponsors. The true belligerents remain one step removed, hiding behind plausible deniability as local populations pay the price. In the end, it's the host nations and their people who suffer most, their lives shattered by a war fought in the shadows. Proxy warfare isn't new. Its most defining era was the Cold War, when the US and Soviet Union avoided direct conflict, instead fueling brutal proxy wars worldwide. From Vietnam to Afghanistan, superpowers armed local fighters, turning regional disputes into global battlegrounds. The legacy of these proxy wars, and the weapons they left behind, still shapes conflicts today. For Iran, proxy warfare is the cornerstone of its national security, born from isolation and refined over decades. Facing powerful adversaries, Iran uses proxies to fight on its own terms, maximizing strengths and minimizing weaknesses. This strategy is cost-effective, expands Iran's influence, and provides strategic depth. Combining pragmatism and ideology, Iran's proxy playbook remains resilient and effective. Iran's most formidable proxy is Hezbollah in Lebanon, forged during the Lebanese Civil War and Israel's 1982 invasion. With tens of thousands of fighters and an arsenal of over 150,000 rockets, Hezbollah is a military powerhouse, rivaling the Lebanese state itself. Its deep integration into Lebanese society, through social services and political dominance, makes it nearly untouchable. Hezbollah acts as Iran's deterrent against Israel and the US, promising devastating retaliation if Iran is attacked. It also trains other proxies and secures Iran's land bridge to the Mediterranean, projecting Tehran's influence deep into the Levant. More than any other group, Hezbollah is the model of Iran's proxy success, a local militia transformed into a regional powerhouse. In Yemen, the Houthi movement has become a vital Iranian proxy, controlling the capital and much of the north. Iran's support, missiles, drones, and training has enabled the Houthis to strike deep into Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Their alliance drains Saudi resources and gives Iran leverage over the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a key global shipping lane. The Houthis' resilience and effectiveness show how Iran turns local conflicts into strategic gains. While not fully controlled by Tehran, the Houthis' partnership with Iran is mutually beneficial and deeply disruptive to Iran's rivals. They exemplify Iran's ability to project power far from its borders with minimal investment. In Iraq, Iran wields influence through the Popular Mobilization Forces, an umbrella of Shia militias, many with deep IRGC ties. These groups gained legitimacy fighting ISIS, then parlayed battlefield victories into political and economic power. They now control ministries, dominate local economies, and ensure Baghdad's alignment with Tehran. The PMF secures Iran's land corridor to Syria and Lebanon, deters US forces, and prevents hostile Sunni resurgence. Iran's co-opting of state institutions in Iraq cements its influence, turning a former enemy into a strategic partner. The PMF is a textbook example of Iran embedding loyal proxies within a neighboring state. Through the PMF, Iran maintains a powerful, flexible presence in Iraq under the guise of national security. Iran's reach extends to Gaza, where it backs Sunni groups Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad (PIJ) against Israel. PIJ is Iran's most loyal Palestinian proxy, ideologically aligned and dependent on Tehran for arms and funding. Hamas, while more independent, relies on Iran for advanced weaponry and support, despite occasional disagreements. This alliance lets Iran pressure Israel directly, tying down its military and projecting power onto its borders. By supporting Palestinian factions, Iran claims leadership of the anti-Israel resistance and undermines Arab states normalizing with Israel. Rockets from Gaza are a constant reminder of Iran's ability to escalate conflict at will. Iran's proxy network is rooted in a survival strategy, shaped by decades of perceived encirclement and threat. Proxies serve as a forward defense, keeping wars far from Iranian soil and raising the cost of attacking Iran. This network bleeds rivals like Saudi Arabia and Israel, forcing them into costly, endless conflicts. Iran's proxies act as a deterrent, ensuring any attack on Iran triggers regional chaos. The strategy turns Iran's geographic vulnerabilities into strengths, making regime change a far riskier proposition. The true fortress of Iran is not walls, but loyal, battle-hardened militias across the Middle East. This proxy shield is Tehran's ultimate insurance policy for survival. Iran's proxy network is fueled by a powerful mission, exporting the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Ayatollah Khomeini saw his victory as the dawn of a global Islamic awakening, challenging the US-led world order. Proxies like Hezbollah are not just armed by Iran, they're ideologically cultivated, united by resistance against Western imperialism and Zionism. This revolutionary zeal transforms Iran's foreign policy into a righteous quest, giving the axis of resistance its powerful coherence and resilience. Iran's leaders dream of restoring Persia's historic power, seeking dominance through a Shia Crescent, a land corridor from Tehran to Lebanon. This route lets Iran move weapons and fighters to key allies like Hezbollah, bypassing air and sea threats. This ambition puts Iran in direct rivalry with Saudi Arabia, as both vie for regional dominance through proxies and influence. Nowhere was Iran's proxy strategy more visible than in Syria's brutal civil war. For decades, the Assad dynasty was Tehran's key Arab ally, the vital link to Hezbollah in Lebanon. The fall of Assad would have shattered Iran's regional influence, severed its land bridge to Lebanon, and handed victory to its rivals. For Iran, saving Assad was an existential necessity. Syria's fate was the ultimate test of Iran's power and its commitment to its allies. When Assad's regime was on the brink, Iran launched a massive intervention, unleashing its proxy network to save its ally at all costs. Led by Qasem Soleimani and the IRGC Quds Force, Iran mobilized Hezbollah and multinational Shia militias, turning the tide of the war. Iran's air bridge and billions in aid kept Assad afloat, while its proxies became the boots on the ground that saved the regime. Iran's intervention in Syria saved Assad and reshaped the Middle East. Tehran secured a land bridge to the Mediterranean, supplying Hezbollah and embedding its military deep in Syria. Now, Iran operates near Israel's border, turning Syria into a new front in their shadow war. By securing Syria, Iran gained a gateway to the Mediterranean, cementing its power in the region. Iran's proxy wars have left a trail of devastation across the Middle East. Ordinary people pay the price: shattered cities, lost generations, and millions displaced. Nowhere is this more evident than Yemen, where relentless conflict has destroyed lives and infrastructure, leaving children starving and families homeless. In Syria, Iran's intervention has meant near total destruction and mass displacement. Lebanon too suffers, caught between foreign ambitions and a collapsing state. Iran's proxy wars have fueled a cycle of instability across the Middle East, empowering militias and eroding state authority. In places like Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen, militias now rival official armies, fracturing politics and deepening sectarian divides. This has triggered an arms race and tit-for-tat strikes, raising the risk of wider war. The result? Endless conflict, poverty, and despair for millions, while the region remains trapped in turmoil.
Can Iran's proxy strategy be stopped? Or is this shadow war the new reality for the Middle East? Despite years of sanctions and military strikes, Iran's network endures, deeply rooted in ideology and security doctrine.
Diplomacy now aims to manage, not eliminate, Iran's influence. The world may not like it, but must learn to live with a region remade in shadow. On the 13th of June 2025, Israel tests Iran's ability to fight on its own after losing almost all its proxy. So far as of the 18th of June 2025, it doesn't look too good for the Iranians, but only time will tell. Like, share, and subscribe.